right, good morning, and welcome to another edition of Belmont Bulletin. I'm Steve Rosales. Today is Thursday, August 22, 2024, and with me today is our Town Administrator, Patrice Garvin. Talk about town stuff.
Good morning,
Patrice,
Steve.
welcome as always.
Good to see you.
You're a brave person. You've come back for another session.
Yeah.
I admire that. So let's get right into it. We have 30 minutes, and I'm going to mark down my time so I don't get yelled at. And all right, let's start with the most exciting topic, the budget. Okay, so it's August, so our 2025 budget is now, what, a month and a half old, but it's never too early then to start on next year's budget. So
It's true.
give us a little preview of what's happening, maybe a
Sure.
timeline of what we should be expecting.
Sure. So we've started officially the FY26 budget process for the town. The beginning of that is really a budget kickoff with the departments to let them know what some of the expectations are that we'd like to see within the FY26 budget. And then really we're going to start focusing on the timeline. We are working on a draft timeline. We've gotten some input from the warrant committee. We're waiting for input from the school committee, as well as the select board and other key stakeholders such as the clerk and obviously the town moderator, to try and figure out a budget timeline as we move forward into the annual town meeting in the spring. So where the budget process starts is with the departments. We will be scheduling budget summits that we have done over the last couple of years. We have at least 3 scheduled for the fall, and we will be looking at revenues. That's where we start. We always start the budget with revenues. So we'll be talking about revenues in September and October for FY26, and then from there we'll be breaking down the revenue allotments for each part of the budget. So the 3 major parts are the municipal, the schools, and then the shared services. And the shared services being what the town and the schools share. So facilities, benefits, pension, things like that. So really that's the process as we're kind of trying to move forward. It's very robust. It's going to be a lot of information. I encourage everyone to watch and tune in. The summits are a big opportunity for people within the town to see kind of how the budget process kind of moves along, how the discussions are going. And then hopefully in January, the superintendent and I will be putting out preliminary budgets. And those will be really when you start to see the budget take shape and take form. And that's January, and then as we go towards the annual town meeting in May, then it gets a little bit more refined at that point.
Okay, so the process, over the last several years, the philosophy of constructing a budget has sort of been reversed.
Correct.
I think in past years, or historically, it would be all the departments put in what they need. So
Yep.
you'd have sort of, this is what we need to spend budget, and then you'd plug in the revenue to cover that to an extent.
Yep.
Now it seems to be, look, this is what we're getting.
That's right.
Various sources. It isn't really rocket science. It's pie. So much
It's
from
not.
here, so much from here, so much from here.
Yep.
This is the pie. This is how much the family makes.
That's right. And the town, the municipal side has consistently been in 2.5 growth or under. What we have seen obviously is as we do the budget, as you said, we get what we need and then we try and find the revenue to spend, to meet the revenue and the expenditures. And what we have seen in the past is we haven't had enough revenue. So we've had to take it from one-time funds. So this year we're looking to start looking at recurring revenue and seeing how that matches up against recurring expenses. So we're going the opposite way, as you said.
Well, let's see how that works. And so there are these budget summits. They're among town, whatever, the budget committee of various entities around
Yes.
town. They're not public hearings. They're informational or
Yep.
working group meetings, so
Yep.
to speak. And they'll be on, you think, TV?
Yep,
Or on
they'll be
cable?
televised, yep.
Okay.
There'll be joint meetings with the school committee, the warrant committee, capital budget committee, select board.
Okay, it's been a long time since I've been doing the town budgets. So I'll do the municipal side, you're gonna do the municipal side, and then does the school department do their own, and then they somehow come together and battle it out? Or are they all sort of being developed, you know what they're doing, they know what they're doing?
Yeah, oh sure, there's shared communications for sure. But this year what's a little bit different, what's going to be different is this is your piece of the pie. You need to build your budget around that piece of the pie. What we've done on the town side, as I stated, we either have stayed within under 2.5 growth or at 2.5. And we've committed to staying at 2.5 because we've trimmed so much on the town side over the years to meet the needs of the of the community. So it's definitely going to be a kind of a new way to look at it, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so you said, so the budget process will all culminate at town meeting, the annual town meeting
That's
in the
right.
spring, which is always a fun exercise and unpredictable. So, but I understand from our earlier chat, there's some changes being made in town meeting. What do you got? What's going on?
So we have actually a few that we've been talking about with the select board
Okay.
and some other entities within the town. So one of the things, as you know, when we open a town meeting warrant for the spring, there's a period of time that it remains open for citizens petitions. And there have been years where we received maybe 1 or 2, there'd be years we received 0, and then there would be years where we'd receive at least 5. And given that it's pretty much a couple of months before town meeting, it doesn't really give the town and the staff and the administration enough time to plan. Because with a citizen's petition, you don't know what's coming at you. And what that does is it doesn't give the town meeting members the full understanding and grasp of an article that gets presented. And we want to give the town meeting members every opportunity to understand how this would impact the town. So one of the things we've been talking about with the select board is to open the annual town meeting warrant in the fall. Open it, leave it open for a considerable amount of time, allow the citizens petitions to be submitted then, and then that gives the town time up until the spring to really devote some time to the citizens petitions that come through. It really does put a lot of strain and on the staff when they come in so close to town meeting that we really need an opportunity to work that out. So that's one of the things we're talking about with the select board. The other thing is, as you know, town meeting has traditionally been a segment A and a segment B. And the segment B brings us to June. This past town
That's
meeting.
the finance chunk.
Yeah.
Usually we do the, what I'll call the non-financials
That's
A
right.
earlier, and then there's a break, and then you do the
That's right.
financial stuff.
So we are proposing that there would be no break, that we would start per the bylaw. I believe the bylaw states it needs to be the last Monday of April or the first Monday of May. We want to start per the bylaw and then just go consecutively until we're done. That way, there's a couple things. It doesn't bring us all the way into June, and then the finance department and the finance team can close the books. The impact of town meeting in June really makes us focus on town meeting and not focus on closing out the fiscal year. And that leads us into a later time period, which is also going to impact eventually how you submit and when you submit free cash. So we want to move it up so we can get all that done a lot earlier as we move into the fall. The other thing it does, it just really, it creates this synergy that we're just kind of starting and not stopping. Before this past town meeting, we did, I think, a couple of articles in segment A. We stopped for at least 6 weeks and then we started again. And we didn't finish until late June. And it just was just way too much in terms of focusing. Town meeting lasted 4 months instead of probably we could do it in half that. So we would like to condense the segments, have town meeting go Monday, Wednesday until we're done with the business of town meeting. So that's really the biggest change. I know the school committee is looking at it. The select board discussed it. We discussed it with some warrant committee members. So that's what we're proposing as we move to next spring. The other piece, and just one more piece, I know the long-serving town moderator, Mike Woodmer, will no longer be the moderator. He won't be running again. And
So he says.
So he says. So huge loss for the way we do town meeting. I think the amount of work the moderator does at a town meeting or prior to a town meeting is immense. He works collectively with my office, with the clerk's office. I mean, it is an enormous amount of work, and we figured if we're going to implement a change like this, doing it with a new moderator might make more sense. But again, those discussions are ongoing, and we're talking to a number of people.
Well, maybe it'll be like The Godfather, and just when Mike thought he was out, they pull him back in.
Yeah, I mean, Mike is he's one of the best moderators I've seen, and he would be a huge loss for the town.
Well, there've only been, I think, 3 in my long-standing town meeting career. I think we had Dan Needham, and then we had Henry Hall, and then we had Mike Whitmer. I mean, we've survived. Town has always survived.
Yeah, and moderator, there's a lot to it. It's what you see at town meeting, but I think there's a lot you don't see.
Yeah, I especially probably from the stage up there. I know I've sat on that side. I've sat at the selectmen's table years ago, and you see the faces, so you don't. It's a different perspective. I'll put it that
That's
way.
right. That's
than
right.
what you see from
Yeah.
the galley,
Yeah.
like me, just in the back. But in any event, All right, so we have that, and then we have a town meeting coming up in November.
Yes, town meeting.
Give me some highlights on that.
So town meeting is
Or at
set
least what
for
we think.
November 18th. The select board is actually going to be opening the warrant Monday, at their meeting on Monday, August 26th. So we have a number of articles. We have articles, financial articles that we need to be able to set the tax rate in the fall. There's additional state aid that we received back in at the closeout of the legislative session. We need to put that somewhere. We want to make sure we capture that. There's some transfers from free cash and other revenue that we've received that we want to put into stabilization funds. So there's some financial components. We have to have an article in regards to the cell tower lease that's over at the cemetery on Concord Ave. There's a cell tower over there that has some public safety equipment. That lease has run due, and we need to re-up that lease. And because it's longer than 3 years, town meeting has to weigh in on that. And then finally, the big show is MBTA Communities 3A. That will be coming to town meeting this fall. There's 3 zoning articles that we will be focusing on that deal with 3A. One is 3A itself. It's the zoning overlay which the state implemented that all towns within the MBTA belt that serve either by train or bus with the MBTA have to create these overlay districts. And there's a compliance model and a map that the town has to comply with in order to meet the terms of the law. That is coming before the town meeting in November. It's gone through the planning board. Right now, it's currently within the state for review. The state has to review what the towns submit so they can say that we're in compliance before it goes to town meeting. And then there's the inclusionary zoning bylaw that accompanies that. And then the final one is site plan review. We currently have a site plan review bylaw. And to address that bylaw as it relates to 3A, there are a lot of edits and tweaks that need to be made. So those are the 3 zoning bylaws that we'll be bringing to town meeting. Those will take a substantial amount of time to discuss with town meeting, given the complexities of those articles. So it should take, we have slotted 3 nights for a November town meeting. We're hoping we can do it in 2, but.
The 18th is what? That's a Monday?
That's a Monday.
You
Monday,
expect
Wednesday.
Monday, Wednesday?
And then the last Monday is the week of Thanksgiving. So we hope that we finish.
Well, yeah, you'll have a grumpy group of people.
We will have a grumpy group.
If you roll in
that will be in person. I have to say that one will be in person. We don't have the IT staff to be able to put that in any type of hybrid.
Okay, well, good. I'm not opposing that. I like in person. I think it's a lot better for a variety of reasons we can discuss later. But I've made my feelings known.
I'm aware.
Pretty publicly.
Yep.
Okay, so you mentioned IT.
Yep.
So yes, that's always been an issue. We lost our longtime IT person, but we have some new hires, do we?
Yes. So we've had some significant turnover in the IT department. Generally, when anyone leaves any position in town, it's always an opportunity to look at the operations of that department and things we can improve and things we may want to change within the department in terms of positions and things like that. So we looked at it, we reviewed it, and we decided to hire a chief innovative officer. We were lucky and fortunate to hire Chris McClure. He was the Watertown chief information officer. So he's come over, he's been here about a week. And his main task.
He hasn't fled yet?
No, not yet.
So far, so
he's
good?
stayed. So far, so good.
That's a good sign.
Chris is great. His challenge is to build the IT department. One of the things I've told the select board and the warrant committee is my goal for FY26 and 27 is to really invest in IT. IT touches everything in town, whereas before it didn't. Now it touches everything. It's public safety. It's really the security around our financing and funding, personal information that goes back and forth on employees. It touches every part of this town. And we really need to invest into that department through staff, through capital expenditures with systems that are in place. So public safety, I know, has some systems that really need to be updated. So my goal to the board has been that IT will be invested in, and Chris, being the Chief Innovative Officer, will be able to kind of start that process. We're working on the website. That's going to do a whole new rollout. You'll be seeing a new website in hopefully the near future. We're looking at maybe a late fall rollout to make it much easier for residents to access information on the town. And Chris is really going to be in charge of all that. One of the other things we are looking at is information that goes to town meeting members to make that more accessible and easy to understand and locate, and really just have the most updated information to town meeting members as possible without them having to really dig or look for it. So there are a lot of exciting things happening with IT, and I'm very excited to see that department grow and just see what we can do. We're looking at GIS and how that could help bring that into the town to be in a more robust way, and to really invest. That's what we need to do.
That's the satellite
Yep.
data for
Yep.
land and plotting out. And
Yep. And some towns have been able to utilize it with all their departments. I think we have been limited in the past, and that's something we want to focus on. It's not going to happen right away. We're looking at, a long-term planning for IT. The other department that we're building up is, I think if you remember last year, we broke apart community development. We put engineering back into DPW, and we're now looking to build the engineering department. And we recently hired an assistant town engineer. And that person is really going to be able to take a lot of the things that the town engineer can't do, take some of it off his plate, because there's just so much. One being stormwater. Stormwater really needs that focus, and that's what the assistant town engineer is going to be looking at. So a lot of exciting things that are happening with the departments.
Well, there you go. Well, so IT, that's informational technology. Innovative, okay.
Information
so
technology.
It's the computer system and everything in the ether and all
cybersecurity.
So for us older folk, IT is what runs everything.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll leave it at that.
and
right?
it will make the town more transparent. I know public records requests will hopefully be more streamlined in the future. As the more we can get online, the more we can just get information out that people are looking for.
Okay, well, that's exciting. So you got some things now. Also, IT, I read in this.
Yep.
And this is, excuse me, this is a very good thing. It's out. If you don't like it, go. If you can see it online, if you can find it. Town Administrator Bulletin, but it's around town. But in here, I see $77,000 plus or minus grant.
Yep. So the town is always looking for grant money, earmarks, whatever we can to really improve town services, but also take less pressure off the operating budget, which is really the key.
As a taxpayer, I like that.
Right. So all the departments are usually finding. Some of them are small, some of them are large. Cybersecurity grant is one of them. We got about $77,000 for that, and that's only going to help Chris, our new IT director, kind of do what he needs to do. So we are constantly chasing those grants. We also received about $400,000 in Complete Streets grants, and that is a program. It's a competitive program within the state. I think we've tried for it 3 times. We finally were awarded funding for it, and the town engineer is focusing on Concord Ave and the crosswalks on Concord Ave. Sometimes we get requests from residents to look at certain crosswalks within the community, and instead of taking it piecemeal, the town engineer wanted to look more holistically at Concord Ave, from the school all the way up to the post office, and then figure out and lay out where the crosswalk should be, collectively, not just piecemealed. And that grant is going to help do that. We also received a trails grant for the right-of-way for phase 1 of the path. So the phase 1 of the path, once we start constructing, we need temporary easements to do some laydown area and things like that. That money will help with the temporary easements and the right-of-way that we need to get for that. And then the last one I want to mention is through.
How much was that?
That one was about $400,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So we
Not chump change.
No.
Then you had mentioned the last one.
Yes. So the last one was through Congresswoman Clark's office. We work very closely with Congresswoman Clark's office when federal grants come through, and if there's an opportunity for the town to apply for federal grants. And we were successful in receiving a $1 million grant for phase 2 of the community path for design. So hopefully we'll be receiving that money in the near future. There's obviously a lot of legwork that comes with any grant. I think what I'd like the residents and the public to know is any grant that the town receives, there's a significant amount of work to that. The prep to get it, the applying for it, and then once you get it, there's a lot of other things that you need to do. So grants are great, but they do come with a tremendous amount of work. And if you don't have the staff behind that, then it can get challenging. But we do get an extremely large amount of grants within the town. Those are just a few of them that I can think of.
Well, those are not insignificant.
They're not.
$1 million, 400,000, another 400,000.
I think the other thing that I also want to note is, and this goes back to 3A, the MBTA communities law that the state passed. One of the things we're hearing from towns that aren't complying is their state funding could be, for grants, could be compromised if the towns don't comply with that law. So one of my concerns has been is a lot of these grants that I listed off are competitive grants. You're competing with other communities to receive this funding. And the fear that I have is if we are not in compliance with 3A, we could lose the potential of that funding. So that's just something for the town to think about.
Well, we'll figure out where that goes. I mean, more and more communities seem to be rejecting the MBTA's communities program just in its entirety. We're not gonna do it, and we'll see it. And it'll be in the courts, I don't know where it is. Milton was the first, I read Winthrop, maybe Midway, maybe Rockport. There's a slew of them that seem to be jumping on the bandwagon, and we'll see how that works out. Hopefully it'll work out before November. At least then the town would have, our town will have an idea as to what's going on with that. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just one of the outcomes that could happen without
I'm
compliance.
not saying one way, we can discuss that later, but,
Sure.
but it's, you read the news, I think it's a couple
Sure.
more communities every week.
I've read a few. I've read some failing at town meeting, and I've read some passing, so.
So, well, we'll see. Let me see, so you have, you mentioned the community path. I heard community path.
Yes.
So, where are we on that?
So phase one, we are working towards starting.
That's bridge to the Cambridge border, bridge
Yes.
toward LA. Yeah,
Yes, that's
going
right.
that way.
So we're looking to hopefully do the underpass starting next Thanksgiving, FY25. That's the plan. Then
Wow.
once that ball starts rolling, it starts rolling.
Maybe we can walk to the Belmont Watertown football game under the new
Might?
underpass.
Good.
Instead of cutting the tracks like I did for,
Yeah, I think the underpass is a game changer
my
for
mother
the.
only knew. But
Yeah.
we all did, I'm sorry.
The underpass is absolutely a game changer for the residents over in that area of town.
And we'll
For
see
sure.
how that works. Well, that's good. Okay, so what else we got? Okay, building projects.
Yes. So the library and the rink projects, if you've gone down Concord Ave, you can see that we have started those projects. They're really going to start picking up in September. Once the steel gets delivered and the buildings start, going up. So we'll hopefully be having some updates on traffic as people kind of go in and out of that area.
Okay, so they're simultaneously putting it down. I see some
Okay.
activity. I see some
Yeah.
of the library. They had an enormous pile driver down there. I
Yeah.
don't know what was going on with
Yeah.
that, but I see some foundation looks to be some
Yeah.
improvement around in there.
Yeah, so there may be some hiccups in the traffic once school starts, given the on and off work on the sites. And of course, as you know, they're across the street from each other, so it's going to make a challenge for sure for that area.
Do you know off the top of your head, and I don't want to be an unfair question, so when is the expected, if everything went according to plan, all right, and there were no
Sure,
hiccups?
sure.
When do we think the rink opens? When do we think the library opens?
I think fall of next year is really our target for both buildings. Now,
Really?
when
So
they're
about this time
exactly
next year, in
this
a
time
couple
next
months,
year,
so you know.
we might be opening one of those buildings. Sure.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll see
cross
what
our
happens.
fingers. I
Yeah.
see people working and they're digging and doing
Yeah.
this and doing
Yeah.
that, so I assume
Yeah,
it's
we'll
moving
be
along.
hiring a rink manager probably at the turn of the year.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's right,
Yeah.
even though it's not built.
Yeah, I think what I would like is a building manager maybe the last couple months of the construction. Because he or she has to build their team.
That's true, okay. And start scheduling time,
Yep,
et cetera,
yep,
and start
exactly.
doing some things.
That's right.
Okay, well, we got a couple minutes. What haven't we covered that you want to tell us about? How's the path to, so you're going to start the underpass maybe Thanksgiving time somewhere around there next year. How about the rest of it? Are they doing that, doing the underpass first and then the path? Or
So there's the
if you
underpass,
know?
there's the underpass, and then there's the right-of-way work that needs to be done for phase one. So that's going to take some time. There's a process in place for the state to acquire right-of-way from owners of properties. So that's at least a year process. And then phase two has already started the design. That $1 million that we got from Congresswoman Clark's office is only going to kind of make that go even longer. So we have the funds now in place to design phase two of the path, which is great.
All right. Let me see, so what else we got? What else we got kicking around?
Oh boy, there's always so much going on in town. Town Day is coming up. We have fall really starts up a lot of things. There's the road races, there's Town Day that was actually unfortunately canceled, I think, this past spring. The select board will have a booth again this year. We'll be there to listen to residents. We generally have
Any of them going to
swag.
get in the dunk tank?
I haven't been asked yet, so we'll see. I did do it last year.
I know you did. You were a brave person. I'm talking about the city of the select
I
board
don't
getting it
know.
up
We
there.
haven't really-
Could raise a ton of money.
Yeah, we'll see. But yep, we'll be there. We'll have some swag, some trivia games and things like that. So there to answer any questions of the residents.
And we'll figure that out. And, well, all right, I think we'll probably wrap it up.
Sure.
Any final thing? I mean, so now we're at the end of August, so things really start cranking up again when?
Yes, they do.
Right away?
September, usually right after Labor Day when the schools come back, I definitely notice a ramp up of activity. Committee members are really meeting more robustly, and yeah, it gets really busy.
So, and we have, so I saw a slew of appointments. All the appointments done?
Almost, I think we're almost done, yeah.
Oh.
Yep, we're almost done with appointments, and the board's working on goals and objectives right now. So hopefully they'll complete that by September.
Well, September's in a week.
Don't remind me.
Anyway, well, there you have it. I think we jammed a lot into this 30 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, this is Belmont Bulletin. I want to thank our Town Administrator Patrice Garvin for being brave enough to face the onslaught of my questioning again
Thank you,
today. I want to thank our crackerjack producer and cameraman Matt Simonelli, who's behind the camera. And until next time, this is Belmont Bulletin. I'm Steve Rosales. Take care.